Won't it be Ryan the Great? And today we are talking about the Eagles' loss to the New Orleans Saints. I'm not that upset. I don't think we should go into panic mode. Jalen Hurts is going to be back next week, and we are facing the New York Giants, who actually have clinched the playoff spot. Good for them. I really don't care though. The Eagles should win next week. It's a little upsetting that they couldn't rest their starters, but now it is time to win. There's no more playing games anymore. This is the week, or next week is the week. We have to win, no exceptions whatsoever. I'm not sure if the Giants are going to rest their starters. I wouldn't think so, because they probably would want to knock the Eagles out of the number one seed. But either way, they can't. It would either be the Cowboys or the Eagles. So I guess they could just pick their poison. But it is what it is. So we're just going to talk about the Eagles and what I thought of today, and yeah, we're going to get right into it. But before we get right into it, guys, make sure you subscribe with the post notifications on. Go subscribe to my Brother the Great vlogs. Also, make sure you follow me on Twitch at Run the Great Podcast. As you guys know, we're the number one analyst channel on YouTube right now, and to prove that, we are 7 subscribers away from 200 subscribers. So to prove that we are the number one analyst channel, if you could subscribe right now, that would really mean a lot. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get right into it. So obviously, we always start out with the Eagles, and the first thing I'm going to bring up is we're not really going to talk much about the first half. Pretty much. The defense couldn't get off the field on third down. The offense went 3 and out just about every time. The throwing was bad. It was just bad. Everything that pretty much could have went wrong. Next, we always move on to the quarterback, Gardner Minshew. I mean, where the hell do I start? First, I'll start with the completion percentage. 56% of your passes completed. The Eagles, for whatever reason, believed in you that you could get the job done passing-wise, and you screw it up. Once again, the same problems, overthrown footballs, the ball being thrown too much to the side, and I'm going to bring up the A.J. Brown play, which was a.k.a. the pick six. So, on this play, Marshawn Lattimore, so let's bring this up here. A.J. Brown is lined up, getting ready for his slant route, and he runs his route, right? He turns here. Lattimore is here. He has inside leverage. And Brown knew was thinking he wasn't going to get the ball, so he kind of just gave up on his route. You should never give up on your route, but I mean, the play was basically dead for him. And for whatever reason, Gardner Minshew says he don't have inside leverage. Let me just throw the football. It's not that hard to understand if you know anything about football. And for whatever reason, I don't think Gardner Minshew knows anything about football. Just goddamn it. He can't escape pass rush to save his life, which we'll get into later about the pass rush. But goddamn, bro, he looks like he's running in 10 inches of snow. I mean, holy hell. Miles Sanders, it was not his fault. He had a great game. He started off so strong in the second half. They didn't give him the ball in the first half because they ran about 15 plays. So, that wasn't great at all. But at the end of the game, he ended up with 12 carries, which was a mistake, for 61 yards and an average of 5.1 yards per carry. The fact that they didn't even have him in the game for the most of the time was stupid. And he had a great game. I'm not taking that away from him. A lot of the problems that he had last week, they were all cleared up. He didn't take the first gap that he saw. He kind of hesitated a little bit, which was good, and waited for the offensive line to create openings. I thought he did a really good job there. It wasn't his fault this week. This week, we're not putting any blame on Miles Sanders. That was the coaching. Next, move on to our receivers. A.J. Brown, 4 catches for 97 yards was really nice, but only 44% of his targets were completed. I think that was definitely Minshew's fault. He had a great touchdown play where he made the defender, he kind of got rid of his outside leverage. And let's talk about how people were thinking it was pass interference. That was not pass interference. It's equal amount of contact. And when AJ pulled his arm away to go up for the ball, the defender sold it like death and threw himself on the sideline. That's not pass interference. Next, we move on to Devontae Smith. 9 catches for 115 yards. Really good. Ran all his routes. I have no complaints about Devontae Smith. He did everything right that he could have. Quez Watkins, I won't give him any BS this week because Zach Pascal had more snaps than him, so he's off the hook. Minshew gave Goddard just about no chance. Almost every throw was into double coverage, and it felt like every time Minshew was just throwing to him because he was under pressure and was almost about to get sacked. His 3 catches for 45 yards were pretty much all corner routes. So, I mean, I guess he did all right, but only 50% of his passes, only 50% of his targets were completed. Next, the offensive line. It was a problem. I mean, I'm not going to shy away from that. I think a big problem was that Lane Johnson was not in the game, but pre-snap penalties would not be his fault, and I'll get into that in a second. But I want to talk about that holding call on Dickerson, which ultimately the Eagles probably could have won that game if it remained a touchdown because they would have had more momentum, because they would have had more of a lead, I guess you could say, or like, I don't know, because there also was a pick six. I don't know how I would word it, but they probably could have won that game if it wasn't called. So here it is. The defender, I'm not sure who it was. He fell on Kelsey's cleat. In the time where they were calling holding, he was already going to the ground, and he was knocked over. And then basically Dickerson just tried to keep him down. It's not that hard to understand. It's just a football move, okay? That was a stupid call. That was dumb. Now the pre-snap penalties. They were a problem. I don't know what was happening. I don't care. They killed about 2 of our drives in the third quarter where the Eagles could have had some momentum. But ultimately, pre-snap penalties blew a lot of it. So we got to figure that out. Now, this has been the second game this season where pre-snap penalties have killed us. And this game we ended up losing. The defense, once again, we're not talking about the first half. They couldn't get off the field on third down. Basically, that everything could have went wrong. And like I said before the game with the secondary, it could have went wrong. Everything in the secondary in the first half went wrong. The pass rush wasn't even that good in the first half either. I don't even think they had a sack. The rush defense, though, was not that great. The Saints had 130 yards, and our goal was to hold them below that. The Saints are now 6-1 when rushing for 130 yards plus. So yeah, that was just not great. Yada yada yada. And I told you guys the Eagles were never challenged by stretches, and the Saints ran them. I mean, they weren't like deep stretches, but they did run through the B and C gap a few times. Kamara had 4.6 yards a carry based on that. And how the hell did we not stop Taysom Hill? I mean, yeah, he only had 3.3 yards a carry, but it really felt like more. I mean, he was just running right through the Eagles' defensive line. It didn't matter who was in that damn game. It was a big problem. And maybe I got to start calling out the run stoppers. Joseph, Sue, and Davis, they have not had any impact in the last 2 to 3 weeks, and I'm tired of seeing it. We brought these guys in for a reason. I still say we should draft Kyle Hamilton, all right? Because our safeties are a problem, especially with especially without Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and now without Avonte Maddox. You know, our safeties are a problem, and Jordan Davis better start figuring this out quick. Yeah, because I just didn't see anything blow my socks off. You know what I mean? But the pass rush was great in the second half. Power turned into speed. Like I said before the game, they were doing that more by Cox and Graham, and he better win comeback player of the year. You just better win it. He has 10 sacks this season, very well deserved. And Hassan Reddick, I mean, it's just all power with that brother. I mean, he was nasty with that spin move, taking out 2 guys. I mean, he is just absolutely incredible. He had a really good game as well. He had 2 sacks. The linebackers were great. Kazir White actually answered the call this week to make some plays. TJ Edwards right back at it again. Both were great. They made some tackles for loss, stopping Kamara when he ran stretches, and they were also able to stack the box when Taysom Hill was running while they didn't really do much to help. I mean, they did what they could, and it's not really their job to stop him, so it is what it is. Once again, in the first half, the secondary was terrible, but the second half was great. I'll give Jonathan Gannon a ton of credit. He made some great zone adjustments for whoever was the most open downfield. That's who the secondary would lock onto. It wouldn't just be the secondary staying in a zone. They would actually be moving onto a defender, onto a wide receiver. It made sense. So that was really good. They kept away the middle of the field. I thought that was really good when they played zone. Slay had a lot better of a game. He shut down Olave in the second half. I don't even think he had a target, so that was really good there. The bottom line, Hurts is back next week, so there's no reason why we shouldn't lock up the number 1 seed. But this week there was 2 halves of football, and the defense showed up for 1, and the offense showed up for about 5 minutes. So take that how you will. The Saints, Dalton was great in the first half, completing his first 10 passes, very accurate there. Second half was more of the run game, so you can't really judge him really more on the second half. Kamara was great, 4.6 yards per carry, bulldozing his way through the Eagles' defensive line, more through the B and C gaps. Speaking of bulldozing, Taysom Hill was very aggressive running through the middle of the Eagles' defensive line, so he did a really good job there. The receivers were great running slants in the first half, but in the second half, the Saints featured more of a run attack, so take that how you will. The defense did great in the sense that Minshew is absolutely stupid and can't throw accurately, and the run defense didn't even need to show up because they didn't give the ball to Sanders at all and didn't even have him in the game. Bottom line, I'm not sure if they're out if the Packers win. I actually have that game up right here. But if the Packers do lose, but the Packers are winning 17-3, and it's a flag. It's gonna be holding on the Vikings. But either way, I don't even, if the Packers do lose, then you have to win out and hope Detroit loses. So they still got a chance, a very slim chance, even though Tampa Bay has secured the division. I hope they lose, not just because they beat the Eagles, because they have our draft pick. So we'll have to see there. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Make sure you subscribe with your post notifications on. Go subscribe to my brother, Ryan the Great Vlogs. Also, make sure you follow me on Twitch at Ryan the Great Podcast. And as always, Ryan the Great out. Peace.